Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. A lot to get into. We're obviously going to start with Payton Pierce committing to the Buckeyes last night. High four-star linebacker. Now the Buckeyes have two of the top 15 linebackers in the country in the 2024 class, along with Garrett Stover, now with Payton Pierce. I absolutely love this. The James Laurinaitis effect in effect. Your thoughts on Peyton Pierce becoming a Buckeye, Bax?
Well, I've been saying for a while that, I'm thrilled that we're landing all these five-star receivers and elite quarterbacks and blah, blah, blah. I want to see defensive players. I've been that guy. And I'll tell you right now, we only have 2 defensive players out of our 10 commitments. But like you said, both of them are 2 of the top 15 linebackers in the country. This is another top 25 Texas player, top 150 in the country. This has been a clear target for Ohio State for a while right now. So this is a great pickup for the Buckeyes. This is that we need to start seeing elite defensive players coming to Columbus every single year, the way we see elite offensive players come to Columbus. So Laurinaitis effect, whatever you want to call it, this is good. We are still at an 8-2 ratio, so let's start getting some corners and some D linemen in here. But I certainly cannot complain one bit. This is a great pickup for Ohio State.
I love looking at the rankings now. Number 2 class in the country, behind only Georgia. Jumping over Michigan, and number 2 class in the country, as you mentioned, like 10 recruits in the class, 2 defensive recruits, both linebackers. But listen, I love Ohio State's chances of getting Bryce West and Aaron Scott. I mean, the 2 best players from Ohio. I mean, Bryce West from Glenville, Aaron Scott right down the road here, Springfield. I mean, right down the road. I mean, about a half hour down the road from Hilliard. But number 4 corner in the country is Bryce West. Number 9 corner in the country is Aaron Scott. And, the Dean and the Fong have put crystal balls in for the Buckeyes to land both of them. So it's just going to get better from here as far as defensive recruiting.
And that's the thing we've been talking about for a while is that if you look back a couple years ago, we got a lot of elite corners from Ohio. We got Garyon Conley. We got Denzel Ward, right? We got Marshawn Lattimore. These were Ohio-bred guys. And the elite corners from Ohio that we've been waiting for, we really haven't seen. So this is a big deal that in one class you have 2 top 10 corners from the state of Ohio. It's not remotely an overstatement to say that we absolutely need to land both of them. They're critical items for Ohio State in this recruiting class. And I think at this point, it sounds like we're moving in the right direction. And, once we land them, then we'll start wondering about where the D linemen are, but we'll get there, I'm sure. Needless to say, this is looking like we could be moving towards some good defensive additions to the class. Obviously, there's no question that the offensive part of the class is really great. But like we've talked about this for a couple of years now. We always expect an elite QB. We always expect multiple elite receivers. Generally, there's a high-end running back in the class. So, let's see these defensive players. And, when you have 2 top 10 corners in your home state, that should be a layup. So let's see it. I'm optimistic.
I was gonna say I'm very optimistic. Am I too optimistic? I mean, it's recruiting. I don't want to say Bryce West and Aaron Scott are in the bag, but I feel extremely good about it. Like, where are you at with those 2 guys?
Same boat. I think they're Ohio State's to lose. If we lose either one, something catastrophic happened. Then there needs to be like one of those like what just happened. Like we need to have like a Biddle commission to make sure that we get to the bottom of how this happened. That's up there.
It'll be a lot more accurate than the Warren Commission. I promise you that.
Does the bullet go like this?
Yeah.
Anyways, it won't be the Zapruder film. It'll be the Bax film. Where's Harbaugh? But at the end of the day, you have to get those 2. Period. You have to. You have 2 top 10 corners in state. You only have 7 scholarship corners. You need those 2. Period.
Yeah. All right. Let's switch gears from recruiting. Let's talk spring game. It's weird. I mean, we're so into recruiting right now. We're 3 days away from the spring game. Let's talk about it. We're going to meet with Ryan Day later today after practice. Practice is not open to the media. One of the few practices that has not been open to the media, which, it's been awesome this spring. But we'll get a chance to meet with Ryan Day today around 11 a.m. So keep it locked to Bucknuts to that. We'll have, video and everything Ryan Day had to say. But the spring game, let's focus on that. What do you think? Is there much we're going to learn from the spring game on Saturday? What are you looking forward to the most, Bax?
I am looking forward the most to getting to see who rotates where, doing what on the offensive line. I think that's the part I'm interested in. Look, this isn't set up for them to succeed, right? Anytime pinky touches the quarterback, it's a sack, right? So, we have to factor that in. But I want to see how these guys hold up. I want to say, if we're looking at it from somewhat of a game situation, are they actually able to hold their blocks? Are they actually able to work together? We've heard a lot about these great defensive ends from Ohio State. I would like to see Kenyatta Jackson get a couple of big plays. That would be great. But at the end of the day, I want to see the O-line because we got to make sure that we keep McCord upright going into the season. And look, we know this is going to be like a day where the quarterbacks throw for 7,000 yards because that's how it always go. But at the end of the day, I think for Ohio State, this is a really good opportunity to see where the O-line is. And a little part of me is also really excited to see if the corners are any better because they're not in a great position to succeed either. There's not a ton of a pass rush. There's going to be a lot of very milquetoast defenses, if you will, right? So at the end of the day, I want to see Davinson Igbinosun. I want to see that Burke is healthy. I want to see Hancock out there. There's a lot I want to see, I guess. So pretty much everything. And by the way, if the weather's really good, we may be seeing a near spring game attendance record. The record was 96,000. I was at that game. It was, I believe, 2009. It was the year that Pryor was coming off of the I think it was the year before we won the Rose Bowl with Terrell Pryor. 96,000 people.
Going into Pryor's sophomore year.
Yep. And I got incredibly sunburned at that spring game. I vividly remember that. But I think if the weather holds and it is as good as it looks like it could be Saturday, we could see 100K in the shoe. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. Oh, now they're saying there could be some rain, but yeah, it was looking at 70.
Oh no.
I bet this is just the generic Apple app, the weather app. This is generic.
Now we're all looking up to see what we got on
National Weather Service. Right now it's saying 75 on Saturday with a 50% chance of rain. I looked at that a few hours ago. It said no rain on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like a perfect day.
If it's 75 is the high and there's no rain, we will see over 90,000 people in the Horseshoe. I feel very confident of that.
Yeah, so that's what we'll learn. Wow, the Buckeye fans are crazy about Buckeye football. Oh, wait, we already knew that. All right, so let's get – so one thing I'm hearing that I absolutely from impeccable sources that I absolutely love. I mentioned this on the show. I don't know if you and I have talked about it, but I'm hearing that the Buckeyes are definitely going to go after 2 offensive tackles in the portal when the next window opens. They know exactly who they are, and they're confident they're going to land one of them. And – I don't have names, and as I've said on the show, even if I did, I probably wouldn't throw them out there anyway. But I have it on good authority that they're feeling good about their chances of landing at least one good offensive tackle in the portal. Your thoughts, Bax?
My thoughts are we could sleuth our way into figuring out who this is. Go find an elite tackle at a smaller program that isn't really happy with it, and that's the guys that we should be looking at here. But at the end of the day, yes, we need that. Absolutely, we need that. And I also think it says what the coaches are sort of thinking when it comes to the tackle battle that we're looking at between Shabola and Mihalski is that, okay, that's fine, but is this good enough? So, I think for Ohio State, this is a position that we all thought was a real one of need. So I'm happy that we're looking for at least one tackle. And then there's people out there going to be like, oh, it's tampering. Oh, this happens all the time. These kids are all on Instagram talking to each other. They all have representatives and uncles. It's just the way it is. It's not tampering. It's just kids are there and they're looking for better opportunities. And if Ohio State sees someone that they think will improve the football team, I can guarantee you Ryan Day is going to do everything he can to improve the football team because he knows, just like we do, that he needs to win the game this year. And by the way, he has one of the hardest schedules in the country this year. So, yeah, load up for Bear. Let's go.
Yeah, he was on the job for 2 weeks and he landed Justin Fields, and if Urban was still the coach, as much as I love Urban, Buckeyes wouldn't have got Justin Fields. Tate Martell probably would have been the starter that year. And Ryan Day was on the job for 2 weeks. He brings in Justin Fields. He knows how to get this done.
Tate Martell. I've heard some crazy things in my day, like people saying that Tate Martell was better than Justin Fields. I don't know what kind of fool would say that, but at the end of the day, I think Ryan Day knows what he's doing when it comes to quarterbacks, and I think Ryan Day is going to have an excellent offense. And I think Ryan Day also knows to have his quarterbacks perform at a prime level, they need to get the best possible protection, and that's why we're looking at offensive tackles right now.
All right, let's get into we have a very interesting thread on the front row message board about a talented young man from Ohio, Brian Robinson. He's ranked as the number 4 player in the state of Ohio in the 2024 class, raw. But, some people think he has a high ceiling. It's very, very polarizing. Like as I said on the board, like I will defer to Mark Porter. Here's the whole list of people that know more about Ohio football talent than Mark Porter. End of list. Nobody, he knows.
Long pause.
Like Mark Porter won, and then I don't know who's second, but Mark Porter is number one. So and Mark, to his credit, is not going to trash the kid on the board or anything. But if you read between the lines, he's basically saying Ohio State doesn't really think this kid's that good. Now, could they be wrong? Perhaps. Recruiting's not an exact science. Mr. Baxendell, curious to your thoughts on this. Young man is from Austintown, Fitch. He is a talented young man. There's no doubt about that. 6'5", defensive end, could grow into a D tackle, kind of a tweener. Ohio State's not offered him. He's probably going to end up at Michigan. Your thoughts on the whole Brian Robinson debate? Where do you come down on this?
This is one of those ones where I think Ohio every now and then there's a guy that cycles through Ohio that looks like Tarzan, and you wonder, does he play like Jane? We saw that before. Remember Taco Charlton? Whenever Taco Charlton was a recruit in the state of Ohio.
And then Isaiah Prince made him a first-round pick. Yeah.
Yep. And so Taco was a guy, though, for 3 years, didn't do much in the game against us. He's one of those guys we thought was a little overrated. Another one of those ones that we almost lost and then won was Zach Harrison, and it took him largely until his last year to really get it together. If you're Ohio State, here's the reality of the situation. You're going to take a risk if you let him go away to Michigan that he turns into a super duper duper star with the physical attributes this kid has. He's already 6'5" and 260, but he hasn't played as long as a lot of these other guys. He's super duper raw. He's one of those guys that you're kind of banking on that you can develop. Flip side of the equation is if you're Ohio State, do you want to wait 2 more years for a kid to develop and get on the field when you might have more ready-made options available elsewhere? It's just a question that you have to think about in terms of development. So, yeah, the kid's ranked pretty high in the state of Ohio right now. But, is that just based on, wow, look at the physique? We'll look at the physical tools. A lot of guys can look amazing physically and aren't football players. So, with Robinson, that's the big question mark right now. And I don't have a side that I'm coming down on here. I don't know more than Mark Porter about the kid, right? I don't know more about him than the Austintown Fitch people, right? But that's the conversation that's gone on around him is that, we see the physical tools. Is he a football player? Will those physical tools translate into football? Because there's been plenty of guys who are incredible track athletes that stunk at football, right? There have been plenty of guys that are the first guy off the bus, and you're like, wow, look at that guy. And then you never see him on the field. So that's kind of the debate with Brian Robinson right now. And this is one where, we all see him. He's ranked 3rd or 4th in the state, and the people who look at the numbers only are like, oh, they're also the same ones that are worried about the Thompson twins, right? So, at the end of the day, I think that we have to trust that the coaches know what they're doing with kids in the state of Ohio, right? I, for one, know that if you go through the rankings, or the Armstrong twins, sorry, not Thompson twins. I don't know why I said that. The Armstrong twins, right? They're ranked lower than this guy. And there's a lot of people look at the rankings and go, oh my God, why would we take those kids when that kid's on the board? Well, the reality is the Armstrong twins to me are they were the number 1 most get thing in Ohio to me.
Right.
For the last year.
Right.
So where their rankings are right now?
Right.
Yeah, 2 of them. This is essentially the Pouncey twins. I don't understand the rankings on them. You want to talk about rankings I don't understand? Why the Armstrong twins aren't both top 5 kids in the state of Ohio? I don't get. So I'll defer to the people who know more about recruiting rankings, or the recruiting side of it than me. We have plenty of experts, but just using mine own eyes and 20 years of being a very close observer of recruiting in Ohio, I don't get why those 2 aren't ranked higher, personally.
I'm with you. And I bet their rankings will continue to go up. I imagine it's because they were both about 215 pounds as a sophomore, and they're still growing into their bodies. I actually like that, though. That tells me they've got a very high ceiling.
There's runway.
And Buckeyes are getting 2 of them. So I'm with you on that 100%. I'm going to get you out of here on this. So one thing I'm going to ask Ryan Day later today is about the defensive backfield. I love these corners. I think, my gosh, Denzel Burke looks good. All the talk people are thinking about, Denzel Burke, he did have a sophomore slump. There's no doubt about it. And there was all this hype from the coaches and his teammates. He looks the part this spring. So I'm excited about Denzel Burke. Jordan Hancock's been running with the ones. And dare I say, Bax, Davis and Igbinosin might be better than both of them. Like, I love the top three. And then Jair Brown's looking good too. Jair Brown's playing outside corner, boundary and field, and doing some slot corner as well. So Jair Brown's going to be out there a lot. I like those 4 corners. Get into that. But I also want you to get into the safeties. I mean, there's no way Sonny Styles – right now, Sonny Styles is running with the 2s. You know, I mean, that can't happen. That can't happen, right? Josh Proctor's running with the 1s. Get into the DBs. Like, what are your thoughts on the corners and the safeties?
If Sonny Styles doesn't start, something stupid is happening. That's what's going on. Like, I don't get that at all. That's nuts to me. We saw the kid's blatant physical tools. You saw him do well against Georgia in the national semifinal on the field. This is a kid who should have been in high school last year. Yeah, that kid needs to play. Get him on the field now because he's got like 1 more year before he's off to the league. So why are we waiting? Meanwhile, so we can play a 5th-year senior in Josh Proctor, who even if you think
senior?
he's 9th-year senior, like he's been around forever. Like if you think Proctor and Styles are even close, you play Styles. I don't even understand why there'd be a debate. Corners, let's be a little happier here. I love Jair Brown. This is a kid that, you know, he came in last year as a true freshman. He competed to just do whatever he could to get out there, but he's willing to play wherever he can just to get on the field. I love that attitude. And I also think the other thing is if you look back when Ohio State was stacking corners every year, you had young corners that were doing that. And they kind of took a little bit of lumps in the slot. They kind of took a little bit of lumps figuring it all out. But they were out there getting some of those reps, especially in crunch time. I mean, guys, Garyon Conley's first year, he wasn't good.
Right. And
then he got on the field after and kind of figured it out and then turned into a first-round pick, right? That's what these guys do is they take their lumps. Marshawn Lattimore was injured for 2 years, so he didn't really get to do that. But if you look at some of the other guys, Burke came out and Burke got early reps, and Burke played wherever he had to get – or not Burke, Ward. Sorry, we have 2 Denzels. It's throwing me off. Ward got on the field, and he played a bunch of different positions before we finally settled as a boundary guy. Guess what? The end of the day, you have to get these young guys out there. So Jair Brown just wants to play. I love that about him. Get him out there. Get him his reps. Get him his lumps. And he's going to grow into a guy that's going to be a really good corner for us when it's all said and done. You need that depth. And then I guess, I don't know, I think we kind of hit on it with Sonny Styles. I think we both think he needs to play, right, Dave?
Yeah. I'm curious to get Coach Dave's thoughts about that. Late this morning, Ryan Day, 11 a.m., keep it locked to Bucknuts. Thanks to the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. You can catch his award-winning column every Sunday. It is the Bucket. Thanks again to Bax. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. We appreciate that very much. Hope everyone has a great day.